Let me introduce you Taras Filatov. Taras would be speaking about building your own metaverse and NFT app. Taras is founder, DevOps and at Tora, and head of technology of Satoshi Island. So Taras, we have already gave you co-host rights, so you should now be able, yeah, that is your presentation.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, we see it very well.
Perfect. We'll see. Okay, cool. I'm starting then. So I have changed a little bit like the title just to make it more representative. I was just looking into how to make it more useful for the audience. And I thought it would be useful to kind of zoom back a little bit and talk about Web3 and like where this whole space is moving. And obviously we'll mention some technical bits, like some specific aspects, but I thought it would be useful to step back a little bit and look at the larger picture. I'm in this space for like multiple years, since 2018 at least, and 17. And still, I thought it would. I'm just keep realizing new things, and I keep realizing how the great puzzle is coming together. And I thought I'll share these notes with the audience here, and which helps myself as well to structure the knowledge in terms of what happens in the space and where things are moving and how to adapt and build in this like new space. So the outline of this talk is going to be, first we talk about, and I apologize if for some of you this would be already kind of known stories, known facts, but I gather that for most of people these things are still confusing, and I guess even for all of us, we still try to figure out where things evolve and how they will combine and complement each other in the near future. So we are stepping back and asking the question, what is Web3? What is metaverse? And then we'll talk about some specific aspects, including avatars, metaverse-ready NFTs, what's the current state of the infrastructure and tools, like is it ready, is it not ready yet to build your own Web3 and metaverse kind of ready apps. Some more kind of just quick technical side notes about blockchain, L2 chain, ZK technology, chatbots, what's the user profile and sign-on means in Web3 applications. We'll even mention and have a note about ChatGPT and how it's integrated into a Web3 app. And and sharing our experience and knowledge from some specific verticals, like, for example, using NFTs and using smart contracts and some aspects of metaverse around the project, which is built around land and property ownership. Healthcare vertical will be mentioned as well, and some other things. Okay, so let's start. Web3, what is Web3? So in my opinion, like talking to many customers and people in this industry or in this space, or people who are not in this space yet, especially many people, many businesses, they're still confused a lot. So this is kind of sort of mind map as I see it for most of the people right now. So Web3, I mean, at best, people think, okay, Web3 is like blockchain stuff. Otherwise, people just confused about what Web3 is at all. But at best, they think, okay, this is like something to do with blockchain, probably something crypto. And then you have NFT, crypto, decentralized finance, DeFi. You got metaverse, AI bots, ChatGPT, mid-journeys like generative, predictive AI, lots of new things and like technologies appearing. And people think they're like unrelated buzzwords, and they're kind of difficult to keep up with, and they're probably unrelated. And also contributing to this opinion is the abundance, like lots of like startups and or businesses who try to exploit this trend. So they like take the buzzword or take a combination of buzzwords, raise some funding or sell something, some vaporware to the clients, and then they either disappear or something bad happens, which creates this bad reputation for the ecosystem and even more confusion. So at the same time, I think what's really happening is like Web3 is just kind of an evolution of internet, and we see like Web 2, Web 2.0, Web 2.0, 3D and VR stuff, AI and ML stuff, and simply the technologies just keep evolving. So if you look into this, for example, so Web 2 is about user-generated content. So platforms like Facebook and many others where people just like forums and social platforms, they can do social sign-in, they can chat, they could do social commerce and payments. They generate content together. There is VR and AR has developed, AI kept developing. So what's happening with Web3, I believe, is just an evolution of like existing things. It's just an evolution of internet. So for example, huge topic and the important topic for this conference is NFT. NFT is a kind of ownable art. So what's hugely important and why NFT has become different, because it's not just art, digital art, it's also like ownable art. So ownership is encoded on blockchain in the smart contracts. This ownership is enforced. This has become possible because of the blockchain technology, because of technologies like NFT, like ERC-721, ERC-1155 smart contracts, ERC-20 smart contract, which created programmable money, Bitcoin before that, obviously, IPFS technology to create decentralized file storage for this digital art and things like that. These building blocks combine together and they create the important Web3 trend and Web3 technology. Metaverse has become possible because of the previous developments in VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, and things like that. So, that's that makes it possible. So self-sovereign identity, decentralized identity, again NFTs, because digital art can be traded in metaverse, AI avatars, and things like that as well. Social commerce, decentralized finance, all these things is simply an evolution of the existing technologies in Web 2.0 and existing internet, just taking the step further. However, this important step is happening to the large extent because of important significant trend which is introduced by the blockchain technology, and this is the decentralized ownership. So ownership is given to the users. So when we in the past we had like a read-only web for Web 1, like initial internet, and then for Web 2.0 we had user-generated internet, and for Web 3 we now have the user-owned internet. So that's, I would say, like important aspect here is that interface is not a limiting factor in Web3 anymore, because the ownership is decentralized. So for example, in Facebook or some other like social network or Web 2.0 application, yes, the content is generated by users. At the same time, you are kind of locked to this specific platform, to this specific interface. In Web3, you're not locked anymore. At least that's where this is moving. So you could like, if you're like using some sort of Web3 Facebook, then you could take your profile and your content, and it will be displayed in a different interface. And that's why we're talking about metaverse as well, because it like becomes a part of metaverse. So your content, your profile, your avatar, your presence, the texts and art that you create, you carry them together around with you because of your self-sovereign identity. So when you create something like in the Web3 kind of analog of Facebook, your art, your content, your face, your avatar could be represented multiple ways. They might be represented in flat view, in metaverse, like 3D space, in different places, and you own that. So you won't be kind of locked to the gatekeeper anymore. So that's an important trend. So now what is metaverse? So the term metaverse was coined by Neil Stephenson in the book called Snow Crash. So I recommend it. I'm rereading it right now. It's a pretty cool book. So as we know from Wikipedia, it's a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. So again, social connection, this is all developing from Web 2.0, but now it's kind of coming into Web 3. And the important point that I want to make here is that Web 3 is kind of the metaverse. So we are already kind of there. The only problem that stopped us from getting the metaverse is not like AR or VR technology, not like 3D spaces, not being able like to travel somewhere in like 3D space. Like those things like have been developed in the past and they keep being developed. So I think what's most important here is that the ownership was missing. So if, for example, Facebook creates a metaverse platform, and then it's kind of, they become a gatekeeper. So we don't want that, and nobody wants that. That's why it has been kind of slowed down, this development of this whole space, because nobody wants some gatekeeper, some like corporation to own this space. But the Web3 gives us that infrastructure where the content, the avatars, the people's like identities and creations are still owned and controlled by them. At the same time, it can be like represented at multiple different interfaces and different sort of spaces, games and metaverses. That's why I believe Web3 is kind of metaverse, and finally we are getting there. So let's talk about avatars a little bit. Avatars is like a visual representation of yourself, of like some human or maybe like non-human agent in a metaverse. So if you look into a platform like a 3D space metaverse platform, like Spatial, for example, then you will see that okay, you can like upload your face and or choose like from a template, and you'll be able to walk around, and people will see you like with this sort of like 3D avatar. This is one approach to it. Another approach is the platform called Ready Player Me. So in this platform, which many of you probably would know, obviously, they provide an infrastructure, an SDK for you as a user or for developers to create cross-metaverse, cross-game avatars. And this, again, has become possible because of Web3. Because, like, okay, you could create like avatars before, like gravatars, whatever, different 3D models. However, how do you know, like, it's not like truly transportable. You could create some different backups and things like that, but it wouldn't be like made fully possible, like connected to a decentralized identity. Now it is possible. So you could have like avatars, you could have like different digital assets. You can have that now in the Web3. So you could carry it together with you, and user controls this. It's not like controlled by a game. It's not controlled by a social network. It's not controlled by a 3D space. It's controlled by the user. So, and this is, again, this is huge and this is important. So developers like Ready Player Me can build infrastructure and tools, which space owners and other developers can integrate into their projects. However, the ownership still remains with the end user. So this is how it becomes important. And super interesting stuff is happening in the machine learning and AI space, because like, okay, you need a lot of like computational efforts and creative people to create different avatars for different games and spaces. Many of them will be not compatible. They will have different resolutions, different styles and things like that. So you won't be able to create like an avatar manually or hire a designer to create an avatar for each different space and project. However, if you look into what's happening in the machine learning and AI space, that kind of gives us pretty cool solutions to this problem. So we have experimented, for example, our machine learning team has experimented with this AI generation and face and background morphing. So for example, here you can see it's my brother kind of converting himself into Gandalf and converting me into some sort of Star Trek character. And this is like, we didn't have to hire somebody to do this. This is done thanks to AI and machine learning. And here, obviously didn't spend much time on this, and the quality of this could be improved. But we can take a photograph of the user, keep the background, keep some features of their face and clothing, whatever they are wearing, and tell the system, okay, could you convert me into a Star Trek? And you can see that some features of the background are retained. So I want to be like looking like some Vulcan, some Spock, whatever, some other guy, and that's possible. Or even like you could tell the system, I want to have the elements of Star Trek, and also I want to be looking like Wolverine a little bit. So we can do something like this. And again, this is pretty cool because you don't have to hire designers and this to manually create this and wait for hours for this to happen. This is how these technologies converge, and it will soon be possible for users to jump into different kind of thematic spaces and interact with each other using the combination of Web3 and metaverse technology and the AI tech for creating the avatars. And I don't know if this works here, but basically motion capture is also becoming super easy with AI. So for example, you can control a two-dimensional cartoonish avatar or a 3D avatar, like just so moving your face, moving your head, controlling your avatar in some metaverse or app space. So AI provides us with a free kind of personal artist for our metaverse incarnations. That's an important point I wanted to make here. Now, let's talk a little bit about NFTs and digital assets, like generally Web3 assets, and how they could be like metaverse ready. I mentioned this a little bit in previous last year talk, but this time just basically talk about how this fits into larger picture. So NFT smart contract has provided us with a way to trade, exchange, transfer ownership of digital art. Nothing stops us from taking ERC-721 smart contract or ERC-1155 smart contract and extending it. We can inherit this code, this smart contract, and build a lot of stuff upon it. So our NFT can be our avatar in the metaverse. Our NFT could be our weapon or car or artifact, some sort of tool in the metaverse or in our gaming or social app. And lots of those kind of things can happen and are happening already. So the only thing you need to take into account that obviously the reality of this space is that there are multiple implementations of different 3D spaces, metaverses. There are Unities, Unreal engines, Decentraland, Spatial, and different other engines. And they will have different requirements and different types of content that they might or might not be able to support. So when you're creating a digital asset, such as an NFT, some sort of avatar object for compatible with different spaces, you will have to account for that and build into your NFT, into your metadata, for example, different 3D models. So some of them would be lightweight, like Spatial, for example, will ask you, provide us with a 5 megabyte 3D model. So if you provide them with a 5 megabyte model of some sort of like 3D car, for example, it will be a low poly model. So it won't be so cool, so great as you could do in some other spaces. That's possible. We have done that. So for example, in this project, so the cars I mentioned before, we have done just that. So in the metadata, we included low poly model, lightweight model, full scope model, video, some additional metadata, and made it possible that way. Additionally, so for example, we have created a WebGL mode as well, which allows to implement a web interface where it either could be like a flat app and it could be like an interface for viewing your portfolio or trading, or you could build 3D or / metaverse experiences in web UI as well, using a WebGL. So this is, yeah, that's about that. Quick note here about the sort of state of infrastructure and tools available in this space. So I want to say here is that the space is like actively evolving right now. So like I'm talking here about like connecting different worlds, but it takes time to properly connect them and make it all smooth. So for example, when we work with projects which involve, from one hand, NFT and smart contracts and Solidity code, web and things like that, mobile app. From other hand, they involve 3D, metaverse, 3D models, virtual space, and they require different types of technologies to work together. So for example, Unity is an engine which is being used a lot in 3D space. So you want to build an app for like mobile app or web app with a 3D engine, some sort of metaverse app, you would use Unity in many cases. It doesn't have like good support for Web3 libraries. So for example, when you call your project in Node.js or TypeScript or JavaScript, you have web3.js library. In Python, you have web3.py. In Unity, you're very limited. You don't have like direct such a nice kind of library to work with that. So those kind of things, again, just probably for those of you who might be building projects in this space or like waiting to start. I mean, these kind of things are happening right now. So there are solutions, just some of them will just take more time. So for example, for solving this problem, we just used Alchemy to integrate with the API layer. And this way we were able to connect to our smart contract, which we deployed on Ethereum blockchain network for our NFTs, for our NFT cybercars as a digital metaverse asset. We weren't able to connect directly from the Unity code to the Web3, but we were able to do it through the Alchemy API, and Alchemy is quite a well-known platform. So the space keeps evolving, but it's getting there and things are possible. Right, so another thing, technical, probably, slash product commercial to mention here is what blockchain L2 zero knowledge means for metaverse and for building your new kind of Web3 and metaverse apps. Initially, I thought maybe I'll just have the talk about like this thing and how we built like stuff around like distributed decentralized presence and metaverse and stuff like that. But afterwards, I decided to expand this talk and discuss different subjects and not go very deep into this. So it's like compressed to one slide, but I'll just mention that for the purpose of the projects who are looking to build some sort of like metaverse application or any application where you would like to trade, transfer digital assets, have some sort of like trustless transactions, presence, and other mechanisms like that, you might have looked or you might be thinking about using some sort of infrastructure which allows you to keep the best of the two worlds. What I mean is the decentralized world and the advantages of blockchain and the distributed ledger technology, and also at the same time try and keep it like working fast and have like free or very cheap transactions. So if you looked into that, you'll probably know that you will have to have some compromises. You cannot do all these things like, for example, on the Ethereum mainnet. Otherwise, you would have to pay like few dollars for every time your character moves in your metaverse, or pay a few dollars every time you do a transfer of some game item or some business item. So that's why people use L2 chains, like side chains, other types of blockchains like Polygon, and other kind of things like that. So quickly mention here that, for example, how we solved it. We built a platform. We call it Dapper's platform. That's our platform. There are other solutions. It's basically L2 chain solutions. That means that you build a blockchain which is your own level 2 chain, and transactions there are free. However, so this means that, for example, you could have your metaverse characters, you could have transactions, you could have transfers of items for free, at the same time verified by cryptography and by distributed ledger technology. The interesting aspect here is that thanks to technologies such as ZK Rollup, ZK Sync, for example, you could still have a connection to the mainnet, so to the main blockchain, and cryptographically prove that what's happening on your chain is true, and it has been the provenance of this transactions has happened And even if somebody from your chain doesn't like cooperate or something doesn't happen, thanks to this technology, the users will still be able to retrieve the assets from your L2 chain. So I guess summary for those who might be not very much deep into these aspects, there is a solution possible right now, today, and it's like technologically available that allows us to build EVM-based or blockchain-based metaverse or any sort of other kind of applications around digital assets with free transactions and still retain a high level of cryptographic proof and all the advantages of the blockchain and decentralized assets ownership. Chatbots. So, right, in terms of chatbots and we're just see quickly check how much time I have left. I think it's around like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Like Ross, right, Ross? Okay, cool. So, okay, I'll just quickly mention here that chatbots is another aspect which is evolving from Web 2.0 to Web 3. So in our experience, we use chatbots for different sort of aspects, and they totally make sense within Web 3 space. And in metaverse, is like chatbots makes sense too. You just apply the AI, you apply some sort of video bots, and you will have some talking conversational agents which you will be able to meet in the 3D space. Web3 space, interface doesn't matter. Metaverse, 3D space, it's all the same under the bonnet. It's just infrastructure. Some interesting things to mention here that in Web3, chatbots are able to do payments. They can act as independent actors. So chatbots can have their own wallet. You could have them trade assets, or you could have bots facilitate trading assets between users. You could have bots that use Web3 for governance. They could analyze your data, so you could have like a bot like ChatGPT or something integrated and send them payments using Web3 and authorized your information using Web3 as well. So again, chatbots is something that retains here and it just evolves into Web3. A quick example here is based on our platform. We built a chatbot for a healthcare application, and it's using authorization using Web3 to check the user's health documents and help them with reminders, with things like analyzing their health information and things like that. Sign-on and profile is super important in Web3. What I wanted to mention here is just to give you an example that of that ownership that I was talking about in the beginning. So this is the same user, different applications. It's based on our engine, but doesn't matter which engine you're using. In Web3, whatever engine you're using, if you use like decentralized identity, for example, you allow your users to sign in with MetaMask, it will be the same user. It might have different interfaces. So for example, on the left, you can see a health wallet app that we have built, and the user will have their biography, the medications, allergies that they have. They can print their profile, share profiles with their doctors. This is another app which is like built around NFT social. And here user might exchange some digital art with other people. However, the sign-on is the same and it's the same user. So again, this is important. Interface doesn't matter, app doesn't matter. Web3 is about users' ownership of their profile, their data. Here's a quick example that we have integrated ChatGPT into our Web3 app. And you could follow the links here. It will be shared as part of this conference. It's all open source on GitHub. what's important, what I wanted to mention here is how this again makes sense as part of Web3. So, for example, in healthcare, you could have users' information stored across IPFS, interplanetary file system, file storage. So instead of like a doctor or hospital being a gatekeeper and like keeping lock on the user's data, and every time like this happens in United States, this happens like today, right now, this is a problem in many countries. You come to another provider, you have to do X-ray scan again. So a solution for this would be healthcare systems connected to IPFS system, this distributed storage. However, users owning their keys, thanks to the crypto and Web3 wallets and Web3 identity. And then you could chat with the bot, like ChatGPT based bot, AI bot, with real users, with IBM Watson and solutions like that. And the bot would ask your permission. Would you like me to access your X-ray, for example? You would say, yes, I want you to access X-ray just this time. And this really works. This is, again, an example of how Web3 and sort of machine learning, IPFS, these things make sense together. Another example, so we have built a solution for land property and ownership using NFTs. And in the example of Satoshi Island project, which we participated in as a technical team, like providing technical solutions here, there are two aspects. The island is being developed. So the team behind the project have issued the tokens and NFTs and use the proceeds right now to carry out the real world landscaping work on this island. So people who own an NFT land, they are going to benefit and be able to come there and build some houses, modules, and just spend time on that island. There is already limited availability to come there and spend time on this like space. At the same time, like because it's difficult to travel there and it's not like fully landscaped, the team has launched a metaverse mode as well. So you could use your NFT citizenship like two ways: as a real physical passport to enter the island, or as a way to virtually enter the metaverse island and meet other people there. So another kind of cool example of real world Web3, NFT, and metaverse things working together. So conclusions. Internet is evolving, and I would say that metaverse and Web3 are already here. So everything that's being built now is kind of part of metaverse, especially if it's built using Web3 building blocks. As I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, interface doesn't really matter. So if the apps look ugly and they lack some smooth transitions between them, it's not a big deal, as long as you allow your users and the whole space allows the users to own their identity and their content. Because the interfaces and the looks are going to evolve, but the infrastructure keeps improving. So that's the most important thing. I would also say that things like Ethereum, self-sovereign identity, decentralized identity, NFTs, MetaMask sort of integrations, these important infrastructural building blocks are here to stay. So it makes sense for those of you who don't know these things to learn them and start integrating them into your apps, into your projects. Consider new approaches. So for example, integrate MetaMask to allow users to sign in. Give more ownership to your users. Build some sort of trust, less transactions, smart contracts into your apps, into your business processes. Consider using IPFS and distributed file storage where it makes sense. don't worry too much about building your own metaverse. Rather, just consider how you and your products or your startup blend into the Web3 and metaverse story that's evolving around you. I think that's pretty much it from my side for now, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Ross, and thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Taras. We still have 2 minutes for question.
Yeah, sorry, I took too much time, but
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
happy to answer any questions as a follow-ups over email or something afterwards.
We will definitely reshare a presentation to our participants, and I encourage everybody to send you questions via email or just contact you on Twitter or any other platform. Maybe one question from me. How do you think things would evolve in this space for the next couple of years?
I think just it just like all these like things like become easier to integrate, infrastructure tooling will become smoother. It will be more easier for the startups and the businesses, companies to use this all this like Web3 stuff and to build their own spaces and experiences. I hope that it will not be like taken over by gatekeepers like Meta, like Facebook and stuff like that. I think it's already not happening. I mean, we already have a strong kind of case for like Web3 tooling infrastructure, thanks to Ethereum, thanks to like distributed blockchain tech. It's already been decentralized, and I think the community strongly defends this direction. So I think that's already we're kind of almost safe from that, but we'll still have to see, and we'll have to contribute for it to remain truly decentralized and ownership being in the hands of the users.
Interesting. Thank you, Taras.